today we are having an interesting conversation about the future of Ghana's internet. And our guest is in and is ready for us. Okay, so we are zooming in, and my guest, Mr. Benedict Obusu, is ready for us. So we start this meeting. Sir, please, would you like to introduce yourself to us so that we get to know you more?
Okay, that's fine. Many thanks to your good self and Mr. Victor, the CEO of Catalyze Aerospace Ghana, for such an interesting topic for discussion. And I welcome all your attendees from wherever they are joining in for this conversation. My name is Benedict Tuahine Osu. I'm a telecommunications engineer, LTA consultant, lobbyist, and marketer. I've been active in Ghana industry since 2013. Currently, I'm serving as the IT manager for Patient Medical Center.
Sir, please, we can hardly hear you. Your voice is quiet.
Yeah, my name is Benedict Tuahine Osu, telecommunications engineer, specializing in LTE solutions and marketing. That's mobile fixed wireless access, including 4G and 5G. And I have been active in Ghana's telecom industry space since 2013. And I'm currently serving as IT manager for Patient Medical Center in Kumasi. If you can hear me.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Yeah. Wow. Okay, so today our topic is about the future of Ghana's internet. That means Ghana's internet is getting somewhere or going somewhere. So we are taking that from where it is currently to where it is going. So with that said, okay, please, I'm listening.
You go ahead.
So with that said, please, how will you describe Ghana's internet service in terms of its reliability and general services provided to Ghanaians?
Before I start, let me take this opportunity to reach out to my mentor in the United States, Honorable Minyo Klaben. She was a former FCC chairwoman in the United States, and she has been mentoring me for quite some time, since 2016 coming. And I would like to also reach out to my personal lawyer in Accra, lawyer Enoko Usu, with the office close to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So, internet services can be, or the main actors in the industry, like telecom, has been orchestrated as consumer and then corporate or dedicated internet services. And then in the consumer side, we have, mobile broadband has become the main medium of reaching out. And we've gone through various evolution from analog to 2G, 3G, 4G, and now we're talking about 5G. And then if you look at the business side, you have a lot of ISPs and the telecom companies also in that space where they use fiber, microwave, and other satellite options as well. So these technologies are all good, but as the world evolves and technology evolves, we need to also make improvement on it. So let's say 5G promises more capacity and more speed. So we cannot just settle on the technology that we are used to. And at least, of course, it needs more improvement. So even though, traffic is growing in day in and day out, and then as such, we need to improve the technology. So in Ghana, I think we are doing quite well, but there's room for improvement. And we need these new technologies to come in on board. So moving in on the topic of the future of Ghana's internet, I think this is a very, very important topic that is very timely, because at the time you reached out to me, there was an ongoing World Radio Conference in Dubai, where we have satellite associations and telecom operators and the regulators all over the world meeting to decide the future of this topic that we're talking about. So when you reach out, I think it was very timely that this topic has come up and we are talking about it. But in my view, the future of Ghana's internet, I see to be the future of Ghana's economic recovery, development, and sustainability, in the sense that where terrestrial technologies is going to intersect with non-terrestrial technologies, where each will complement each other. And then broadband will become like a form of utility, and then making it easy for cloud access to cloud native and then cloud enabled applications. So what I mean by terrestrial networks meeting with non-terrestrial networks is like satellite and then mobile technology meeting satellite technologies. So that's where not only in Ghana but the world at large. Just as we are in Ghana and we have to limit ourselves to Ghana. So this is where the future of internet is heading, and then we need to also prepare ourselves for that. So having that said, the question is, for me, for instance, I stand and speak for the voiceless, the underserved, and then the unconnected in the society. As it has evidently shown in my work, because if I use myself as an example, when I finished school, when I finished school and I was in my village, I had an opportunity, but then I needed an internet connection to respond to the HR to come to Accra. So imagine where I was if in my village, if there was no internet, I would have missed out on such an opportunity. And since that 2013 coming, the opportunity that I got to come to Accra and the kind of work that I've done over the years shows the possibility of getting everybody connected. And if we want to get all Ghanaians participate in equitable healthcare systems, educational systems, job opportunities, buying and selling activities, as well as financial inclusions, we need to treat broadband as a utility in addition to electricity and then water, so that everybody everywhere will have access. That's my opinion, opening remarks on that.
Sure, that sounds great. Everybody everywhere can have access to it. So talking about everybody everywhere having access to it, I'd like to find out, are there areas in Ghana that are actually currently facing internet problems? I mean, finding it difficult to connect to internet, and what's being done about those areas?
Okay, to answer your question on that, obviously, worldwide, even the US, there are some close to about some millions of people still not connected in the US, and so Ghana is no different. So, and then, mobile broadband has become an economic competency for every country. But, in Ghana, mobile broadband is a prevailing technology that is reaching out. But, because of the cost that is involved, even the NCA, when the NCA issues out license to some of these telcos, they direct them to cover up to district capital because of the cost involved. And so most of the telcos are not able to even reach out to so many rural areas. Let me use in 2013-14 when Ghana government issued to the NCA issued 4G LTE license to some Ghanaian telcos. They couldn't cover all district capitals as expected. For instance, Selfline was able to cover Accra and Takoradi and other places. So it takes you, in terms of reaching out to people, there are a lot of places that are unconnected. So we need to do more to ensure we get them connected. So of course, the telcos and there are existing roaming agreement between them, but even if you travel all over the country, you see that you experience some dead zones where you not get signals. That tells you that there are a lot of places that need to be connected in Ghana here.
Okay, a lot of places need to be connected. So with that, are there plans to expand internet broadband accessibility in Ghana or globally?
Okay, that's a good question. So having said that the future of Ghana internet is going to be an intersection between mobile technology and then the satellite technologies, the question you ask yourself is, how are we looking at our infrastructure? How are we looking at the infrastructure? For instance, when in March this year, we had a visit from the US Vice President Kamala Harris, visit Ghana, and then as part of the visit, it was a strategic visit because it was to lay ground to assist Ghana in their digital development agenda. So having said the future, we need to, there are a lot of investment that need to go into it. For instance, the 4G technology that we have right now, data is going to be escalating. According to the GSMA, Africa, in the next 5 years, data is going to be quadruple. So it means that we have to also prepare ourselves in terms of investment in infrastructure. You get a point. So for instance, migration to 5G, which is very, very imperative. So my only worry in Ghana has been that we had our 4G LTE migration wrong. So because some of the telcos were struggling or were not making profit, and a recession of MTN Ghana, I remember when the auction was being done in late 2015, only MTN won the 4G license, whilst other telcos were complaining that they don't have the funds to compete to get 4G licenses. So it's like, and how, if telcos are unprofitable, how do you expect them to make profit to invest in their network expansion and drive? So that's why the US government is strategically coming in to also assist in some of these initiatives, because to get to the future, we need investments into both the satellite technology and then the mobile broadband technology. And that's what the US government seeks to address. For instance, in May, following Ghana's IMF deal, the finance minister celebrated that through the US International Development Finance Corporation, they have released about $300 million in a private investment capital to assist the infrastructure of Africa and Ghana inclusive. So they were happy following the IMF deal, because we need investment in the infrastructure to prepare ourselves into the future. So I think that was a good sign from the US government, and the visit by the US Vice President Kamala Harris earlier in March also had played an important role in that deal, where even the US, they know this more than us, because after that IMF deal, if you go to the website of the White House to check, they've realized that Africa is about 17% of the global population, and then if you look at the global available data capacity in the world, they account for less than 1%. So they realize that we need infrastructure. So that's why they are committing about $300 million into construction of data center facilities across the continent to boost the digital infrastructure, because they have interest in our digital economy, and that's the only way we can grow and then move into the future that we want for this country and then Africa. Yeah.
Okay. Talking about, can you mention some of these specific infrastructures that they are trying to put in place?
Okay. So, we're talking about the future of internet, but this future is also going to help us tap into the future of IT, which is cloud computing. And that's is one of the bedrock or the backbone of some of this infrastructure that is expected. Because right now, I heard the Minister for Communications along the year, somewhere in the year, making a hint that Ghana is going to get 5G next year. And recently, on October 23rd, in Kane University, the Director General for National Communication Authority, Mr. Joe Anochi, was also made the same statement that Ghana is going to get 5G. But the question you ask yourself is, how are telcos in Ghana preparing? Because it starts from the core network. You get a point. 5G is a cloud native technology, which means it was designed to run in the cloud. But you ask yourself, how many telcos in Ghana, as at now, have modernized their core network into a cloud native environment? If you go into the US, I can give you an example. T-Mobile started theirs in 2020, and it took Verizon 5 years to shift towards cloud native architecture, which is the backbone for 5G. So when I hear some of this talk about Ghana getting 5G, and I ask myself, how are these telcos preparing? The hope that I get is some of the investment that the US government is committing. For instance, out of the $20 million that the US government has committed into construction of various data center, cloud-based data center in Africa, Ghana is fortunate to also benefit, where they are going to construct one at the trade fair in Accra, costing around $50 million. So they are touting it as first of its kind. Why? Because it is first of its kind because it is cloud and carrier neutral. When we say it's cloud and carrier neutral, it means that any telco that is struggling to invest in the network infrastructure can tap into it. So that's why I was telling you, when I hear people talking about 5G, I also ask myself, the telcos need to also prepare themselves. But if they are not making profit enough, and we thank God for the investment from the US government, how are these telcos going to prepare themselves? Because it's not going to, when you say somebody should go 5G, it takes a lot of money investment. You have to invest in their core network infrastructure, which is cloud native. You have to invest in their transport network, fiber or whatever, and then also purchase spectrum, 5G spectrum. You get a point. So, and I heard the NCA Director General saying that because Ghana, in his words, he didn't mention anybody, they are afraid that if they open up the 5G spectrum, you end up getting one company buying all. Because, as I told you, in Ghana's 4G LTE migration, a lot of telcos were complaining that they were not profitable. And then one telco went in and bought it. So if they allow that such a situation to happen, you will find a situation whereby only one company will go in to. So they are being careful to ensure that they give equal access to all the telcos to compete. And I like it when they introduce a concept earlier in the year called technology neutrality, whereby telcos like AT Ghana can now refarm their spectrum to offer 4G. Up until now, they were not having access to 4G LTE, and which was limiting their competitiveness. And you have a significant market power company in Ghana like NTN, where you get a point. If you are not able to have some of these technologies to compete with them, it become an issue.
Yeah. So with that said, I mean, the infrastructures and all that, the cloud, all being put in place. Do you think Ghanaians will ever enjoy affordable internet access?
Yeah, it's one of the visions. As of now, Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, is seen as one of the areas in the world that it costs really, really high to have access to the internet. And the US government has seen that. So that's one of the reasons why they are committing the investment, is to also drive down the cost. Because look, if we don't get some of these investments, trust me, one challenge in Africa is that when it comes to coverage, mobile broadband, by God's grace, it has been narrowed down to 15%, which means more people have been covered by mobile technology. But the question is, Africa has the highest usage gap. What I mean by usage gap is that people who are covered by mobile technology, but they are unable to use it because of affordability issues, device affordability, and the cost of services. So according to the GSMA, which is the Global Association of the Operators Worldwide, they have realized that Africa has the highest, even though the coverage issue through mobile technology has reduced. But then the other challenge that they are facing is usage gap, where the service is available, but people are not able to use it because device availability issue. I'm saying literacy issues, where contents are also not available in their local dialect, and a whole lot of other issues that we need to all come in and step up in our education to ensure that whilst we are pushing for broadband coverage, we also ensure that it's able to affordable for people to use.
You made mention of literacy. So with the literacy, I'd like to find out, what are the various telcos doing in terms of internet literacy in Ghana? How are they helping to solve that?
It's typical of telcos worldwide to spend in commercial activities, which aim towards educating their customers about some of these services and how easy they can use it. But beyond that, the Ghana government also, through the NCA and other institutions, also has gotten a role to play in that. But it's a collective responsibility. And I like the way the Ministry of Communication is also embarking on girls in ICT education and some of these stuff from the junior high school level to senior high school level. And if you see that there's some conscious effort, the NCA also sometimes does some education when it comes to some of these services and the complaints and other issues. But majority of the work rests with the telcos to ensure that the services that they are offering, they are able to put measures in place to ensure that their customers are able to get a requisite knowledge because it's for their own benefit. If you give out a service and people are not able to use it because of illiteracy, or what use is it going to be? And then the government policy of free SHS is also going to help in an aspect whereby people, a lot of people are going to be enrolled in school, and some of these people will also teach their parents about some of these ICT knowledge, and to augment some of this effort that the telcos and the NCA put in, the Ministry of Communication put in to ensure that digital literacy is tackled well.
Okay, so with the growth in digital literacy, I believe that will cause something called cybersecurity issues. So with regards to that, how is that also being addressed? Because the more people are being educated and gaining knowledge will lead to this. So how is that also being addressed?
Yeah, I would like to commend the Ghana government through the NCA and the Ministry of Communication as well, because they've set up a cybersecurity unit under the NCA, which has been mandated. I think the Cybersecurity Act 2020, which gives the Cybersecurity Authority the mandate to take care of all cybersecurity related issues in Ghana. And I'm very proud of what they've done so far. And just recently, a global conference in cybersecurity was organized in Accra, which is very, very remarkable. So I commend the work of the Cybersecurity Authority people, what they are doing to ensure they tackle cybersecurity aspects in the financial sector, everywhere, and I like the job that they've been doing, sensitization workshops from all sectors, whether oil and gas, all this. So for cybersecurity in Ghana, Ghana is on top. I think if you're selecting about best 2 countries in Africa, that is in terms of cybersecurity, Ghana is one of them. And I think the Ghana government is doing a great job on that regard regarding cybersecurity issues. So when it comes to cybersecurity, I think the Ghana government is doing a good job through the Cybersecurity Authority.
Okay, so they're doing a good job. Comparing, I mean, we are dealing with Ghana, but comparing Ghana to some Africa countries, what will you say that are some of the measures that the government of this country has actually put in place that distinct us from them?
As I'm saying, the Cybersecurity Authority has been embarking on some activities. For instance, they go as far as even organizing challenge amongst SHS institutions like a competition just to drive home the sensitization or the critical issue or nature of cybersecurity and how we need to take it seriously. And I think they have a reporting, they are putting in measures also to ensure they accredit cybersecurity professionals, cybersecurity service providers, that's the companies that offer cybersecurity solutions, and then cybersecurity establishment, that's institutions that deals in cybersecurity issues. So I think they are doing a great job in that aspect, because it's not easy to put measures in place to ensure that you sanitize the system, those practicing the cybersecurity profession, the companies offering the service, and then the cybersecurity establishment. I think they are doing a fantastic job, and you can see their work all over.
Sure. I would like us to delve a bit into the economic aspect of this. So we all know that internet access in this country helps a lot of people, especially businesses and entrepreneurs. It helps them in so many ways. I'd like to find out from you, how are these entrepreneurs and businesses leveraging on this internet access in this country?
I think, when it comes to, when it comes to the business, SME, small medium enterprises, each of them has a unique way, and some they use their phone. They don't have an IT department. Some they use their phone as their network. They use their phone and they use social media platform and other sites to showcase what they've got. And there are some too who have what do you call it, a shop, let's say a setup, and then what do you call it, either temporary or permanent site. So when it comes to that aspect, each of them, they are all trying to leverage their innovation and entrepreneurship through the internet by using some of these platforms. But I think there's a lot more we can do as telcos are transitioning from becoming from being a telcos to a telco. What I mean is that they are now becoming like an IT service company that whatever service a small business needs, they can be able to, for instance, Vodafone has a package like websites, broadband, voice, and other packages in one, just to assist some of these businesses. So you deal with them according to their needs and the technology trend. That's why it's very, very imperative for telcos in Ghana to modernize their architecture to cloud native architecture. And we thank God for the US government investment as well to ensure that all these entrepreneurs, wherever they are, whichever corner they are able to get the infrastructure they need to support their businesses. But currently they are using all sort of whether Twitter, Facebook to do their activity, but it needs to be it has to be affordable. If of what sense recently we heard one of the telcos increasing their data, and if you compare their data packages as a significant market power, your service should be more affordable than non-significant market power like Vodafone. But here's the case: we have, and we need to address some of these things to encourage drive some of these businesses. Let you make a service, and I'm hopeful with the investment that the U.S. government is making and the arrival of 5G and the investment that we are receiving from the U.S. government, we're going to drive down some of these internet cost issues that become an issue, because we need to empower this. Day in and day out, the Ghana government is rolling out business programs, supporting businesses, employment, but we need to ensure that the tools, the internet service that they are going to rely on is accessible, affordable for them. So we have to put in an effort. That's why I'm very optimistic about the future of Ghana's economic recovery, stability, and development. Yeah. So that's where the future of the internet is heading to, where the mobile technologies will meet the satellite, like low Earth orbit satellite technologies like Starlink, EST, Space Mobile, and other vendors.
Okay. At this point, our audience, those who are participating in this meeting, if you have any question, you can gather it. You can also write it in the chat box, because a time will be given for questions. So if you have any questions, you should be getting ready for them. Okay, so with that said, I also like to know what specific strategies are being put in place to foster innovations. We spoke about the entrepreneurs. So foster innovations among businesses as well as the generation coming up, as far as internet services concerned.
One critical thing that is very important is cloud computing, which is the backbone of so many innovations that happen around the world. And I think gradually Ghana is going to get into that future where, what do you call it? This technology is going to be the backbone for everything. Now it's going to be the backbone for 5G. It's going to be the backbone for 5G as well. So the cloud is going to enable these businesses. That's why the US government has committed into construct, as I mentioned earlier, to constructing a first of its kind cloud and career neutral data center in Ghana. It's a first of its kind because of its unique.
Yeah. Hello, Dimeji.
Which is going to open up so many opportunities for these businesses to do beyond what they to compete, to be very competitive in the global space, because the cloud technology is a platform that is powering innovation worldwide. And I think Ghana is lagging behind some of these initiatives. So cloud computing is going to be very crucial to ensure we tap into some of these innovations in the business aspect. So cloud computing is going to play a critical role. We have AWS, Amazon, Google Cloud, and then Azure from Microsoft. And I think it's a perfect platform to enable some of these small and medium enterprises and entrepreneurs in our country. So cloud computing is going to drive a lot of innovation. So I'm very hopeful about the investment that the US government is making, and also hoping that the telcos will modernize their infrastructure into a cloud native architecture to support all these initiatives.
Okay, so we know that the US are helping us to advance and better internet infrastructure in this country. As we progress, there are going to be more users. The number of people who are using internet currently are going to increase. Yeah. What are the projections? What are some of the plans being put in place to accommodate everyone on board? Because currently we are even having issues. So if those infrastructures are made, are we sure that it will be able to accommodate everyone and for everybody to have access to internet in this country?
Yeah, that's why we've had a call from the minister for communications and the director general for NCA about Ghana. They're doing their best to get Ghana 5G. It's part of the strategy because 5G has around 10 times the capacity of 4G technology. You get the point. So once you have such and it's going to run on the cloud, and cloud, there's an infinite capacity with cloud processing. So when you have, because we are lacking in some of this infrastructure, that's why we are expressing the issue. But the future, where we're going to have some of these technologies in place, like the 5G in the cloud, data centers, is going to deal with these issues. So the issue of capacity is going to be solved. And then if you've seen the what do you call it, the rise in use of low Earth orbit satellite broadband across the world. Yeah, let me just starting for example, where it has been approved in the US by the FCC, in Canada, Australia, and many other developed advanced. Let me take France, for instance. You know, a telecom company there called Orange. They've realized all these issues. So what are they doing? Apart from going out with fiber and these mobile technologies, 4G, 5G, they are also using satellite to ensure that each household, each citizen in France has access to at least about 30 megabits per second speed. You get a point. So that's the future we are heading to, where satellite will complement each other, the mobile technology and then the satellite aspect. So it's exciting, and I can't wait to see some of this initiative happening in Ghana. And in 2024, we're going to see a lot of some of these development, 5G technology coming in Ghana to address some of these issues. So I'm very, very hopeful about the future. That's where the future is heading to. I'm all hoping and praying that the telcos in Ghana will be enabled. Because as it stands now, per GSMA statistics, telcos in Africa need about $75 billion to expand 4G, 5G network across Africa. You get a point. And so that's where, and that's where we need this telecom technologies and the satellite meeting to complement some of these initiatives. And it's very costly and risky to also deploy satellite broadband, like the low Earth orbit satellite we're talking about. So these are all investments. Currently in the whole world, according to the Global Satellite Operators Association, they have about 200 million individuals having access to satellite broadband. They expect that figure to grow in the next, by 2030, which will double to 500 million. And the revenue they are enjoying now is around 39 billion, but in about 2030, they expect the revenue around 239 billion. So there's opportunity for both worlds, the telecom world and the satellite, coming together to ensure because the telcos cannot do it all, cannot do it all. So we need the satellite technology to also come in because where the telcos will fail to go and deploy a telecom mast there, you can rely on a satellite. You can mimic a tower in space and make sure that those in rural areas where the telco cannot reach, the satellite is taking care of them, even on the phone. For instance, AT&T in the US is working with AST Space Mobile to ensure that they are able to get 5G service on mobile phone and even make calls. So that's the trend. So where the two need to work together, the satellite and the telcos need to work together, you have to work together to reach the customers on their phone. And where they need to go their separate way by giving dedicated internet to businesses in rural areas, to the satellite guys like the Starlinks also have to also go in, because there's a huge opportunity, but we just have to find a way to ensure that we complement each other weakness. Of course, somebody can say satellite, when there's raining, the propagation characteristics decrease, but you can also, with the mobile technology, you can have a fiber cut. Contractors can cut fiber, and your service can also go off. So in that case, you need the satellite service to complement you. So that's what I'm saying. That's where we are heading to, where these two groups, the satellite companies and the telcos, are going to work together. Even in Ghana here, Vodafone has signed a contract with Link. It's a satellite company where they're going to trial this satellite direct phone technology, because the telcos cannot do it all. To be frank, the telcos cannot do it all. So they need assistance from these satellite companies to complement each other. That's the future, where we can really treat broadband as a utility for everybody in every part of Ghana or anywhere in the world, just as even the US guys are doing to ensure that everybody is not left behind. We give everybody a fair shot of equitable healthcare system, education, e-commerce, whatever activity, buying and selling, every opportunity that everyone deserves in the modern world. And that's the future we are envisaging. That's what we're going to witness in the next few years in Ghana, where the two worlds are going to come together, complement each other, ensure that we treat broadband as a utility, just like water and electricity. It has to be treated as such. Other than that, we're not going to make a headway. You get a point.
Okay. There is actually a question here. I'll read it out, but I think you've made a bit of, you elaborated on it a bit. It says, putting aside the inputs from government and infrastructure constraints, how can the private sector, that is entrepreneurs, help internet penetrating?
To be frank,
increase internet penetrating.
Yeah, it's a good question, but let me just be frank. In what I always, because I've been mentored in the US by FCC commissions for quite so long, I look out for what the US guys do. You see, the reason, in developing countries, we lack in so many economic infrastructure, like road, whatever infrastructure. But what we can do to compete with the rest of the advanced economy is the technology that we have, the mobile the technology catch up. It has the low band spectrum. We have a mid band spectrum, and then the millimeter wave, that's a high band. So 5G is unique in terms of speed and capacity. So it's a natural evolution that telcos need to move along with it for their own good and the good of the customers. Because it's going to, in the future, data is going to explode. You need to ensure, that's why I'm very grateful to the US government for investing in the cloud and the current neutral data center in Ghana. And it's a good thing. That's going to be the backbone. Cloud native is going to be the backbone of 5G, the core network aspect. And there's a technology called network slicing, which is going to also make some of these services, enterprise services, very, 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 I'm going to lead some initiative, going to make it affordable. Most of the times, for my 7 years or 8 years in the healthcare sector in Ghana, all healthcare institutions that I have helped drive e-health initiative are not able to afford business internet. You get a point. It's very expensive on the side, but with the 5G coming, there's a technology called network slicing, where the unnecessary costs that come along with some of these legacy services is going to be reduced, and the satellite players coming on board, the low Earth orbit, it operates along some of the 5G frequencies. So it's the speed that 5G offers they are similar, that like Starlink. So I'm just excited about the future. You get a point. So some of these technologies are going to help also drive down some of the cost, the cost of internet access.
Okay. All right. There is another question here. It says, our reliance, please hold on. Okay. Our reliance on FDI is hindering us. In the UK, individuals, that is entrepreneurs, can set up hotspotting businesses. That helps in connectivity. Is there something we can't enable in Ghana?
Yeah, I think just recently, the NCA Director General, Mr. Joe Anochi, made a statement at KNUS during a lecture where they are saying, he made it clear that they are working on making 5G available. And in addition to the 5G, making 5G available in Ghana next year, they are also thinking of making hotspots where public gather for activities. But one thing about individuals setting up Wi-Fi, it has to be regulated by the NCA and the cybersecurity, because cybersecurity issues also come in. You get a point. So if you allow anybody just to set up networks across, you're going to have issues with bad actors coming in. So I think the NCA, as a regulatory body in Ghana, I think they are doing a good job. In fact, they've realized the issue that we had with our 4G migration, and then they are being careful to ensure that they work on the 5G migration. And I like the way they are going about it, where they're going to take control of the spectrum availability and ensure that they also make some of these hotspots, Wi-Fi services available in places. So I trust the NCA and the Ghana government to deliver on that. So it's not an issue. Ghana is going to work. We're going to get there.
All right. There is another question, but then let me just ask. Someone wants to know, does the government have a say in the activities of the various telcos in Ghana?
Yeah, the NCA, the National Communication Authority, is mandated by law in Ghana to regulate electronic communications, telecom activities, satellite operation, broadcasting, and all that. So, but it's rather unfortunate that when we heard of this increment from one of the telcos, people have become silent. But when the issue of Starlink came, we see how they were strict to respond. But it's all part of it. and the NCA is responsible for regulating the internet space, telecommunication activity, ISPs, satellite operators, and the broadcasting space. Yeah. So the government, yeah, they have a say in price regulation as well. This morning I just saw a post online where a gentleman in Ghana did a nice job by comparing data panels in Ghana. He compared Vodafone, AT, and MTN. You realize the differences. And I asked myself, why should we pay more? Why should we pay more from a significant market power who controls almost over half the market, and then pay less from this non-profitable telcos? It's a question that I think the NCA has to also come in to ensure that as a regulator, they ensure that the US government they are propping investment to ensure the internet cost goes down. But the NCA also has a responsibility as a regulator to also protect the consumers from some of these stuff. so yeah, the government has a say through the NCA.
Okay. All right. Participants, please, are there any other question you'd like to ask our guest? Okay, there is not one in. And the person is actually disagreeing with what you said. He says,
which aspect? Okay.
Yeah, we are way behind the NCA, and the NCA hasn't helped in this. As I said in the UK, enabling secure hotspotting worked very well more than 10 years ago. Our institutions are backwards. I believe facilities like hotspotting will help reduce costs.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that the NCA, the Director General made a statement at Kane University doing a lecture that they are going to work on it. They're going to make, some of this infrastructure available, hotspots. I know even in 5G, Ghana, when in 2012, I was in South Africa studying the 4G LTE migration, but Ghana missed the opportunity. 4G, the mistake we made in Ghana was that, we had a notion that let's give Ghanaian companies the opportunity to come to the space. But when they came, they failed. You get a point. They gave the license to Ghanaian companies, but they couldn't, as I said in my earlier submission, they couldn't even go beyond Accra. You get a point. They were just in Accra and in Tema and then Takrady. But the telcos were waiting. So until late 2015, that they gave MTN had a 4G license. You got a point. And now after they got the license, they also went ahead to buy some of these small 4G LTE spectrum of these Ghanaian telcos. So that's what I'm saying, that the telecom space is a serious business that, we have to be careful with our policy. Our policy direction regarding the 4G migration didn't help. That's why I like the way this time around the NCA is taking steps to ensure that they hold on to, the government controls the 5G spectrum and ensure that they have equal opportunity for all telcos. You get a point. That's going to help. And I'm saying the NCA has an oversight responsibility in regulating internet activities. They have also control in some aspects, price control aspects, and so their job is broad. Their job is broad. Just that I don't want to sound political, but we all have our weaknesses, and I think there's room for improvement. I think they are doing a good job. I think for realizing that they need to ensure that the 5G doesn't end up in a dominant hand is one good thing that I think the government needs to be commended for. Just unlike we missed a golden opportunity in 2012. When I was going to South Africa to study the 4G migration, Ghana was expected to lead. But because of our migration, later on, when MTN had a license in late 2015, Vodafone later came in 2018. And now this year, Airtel Tigo is going to get advantage through the technology neutrality. But how do they get a return from their 4G investment to talk about 5G? That's why I like the way the Ghana government is handling the 5G migration approach. Because if they are not careful, the mistake that we made with the 4G is going to repeat, where it's going to end up in one hand and you're going to suffer for the prices. So if you take control of the network, whether it's a wholesale network, you're going to construct and allow the telcos access to it, fine. You get a point. So that consumers also will benefit. So I understand the argument where the guy is coming from, but as I sit here, I know, and the NCA knows that we have to correct this technological development.
Okay. Please, are there any questions? Because we are about wrapping up. So, participants, if you have any question, you can raise up your hand, you can speak, unmute yourself and speak, and you can as well type. Okay, Emmanuel is asking another question. He says, is it not possible? Okay. He says, is it not possible for Ghana, alongside other African countries, to deploy satellites that will benefit us all?
Let me put it this way. You know, gone are the days where the space sector was reserved for the superpowers in the world, the US and the Russia. But now it has been opened up for competition. That's why you see a lot of competitors like Starlink and AST Space Mobile coming in. Even the US at the FCC, from the beginning of this year, even though they have been regulating satellites for now, but this year they dedicated a separate unit focusing on regulation of space activities, because they realize that that's the future, where they need to ensure they work together with telcos to ensure they reach everybody. And as I said, investment that is required in launching satellites is very expensive, millions of dollars. You get a point. And the same investment that is required for telcos is also very expensive. So these are some of the investments that you just have to allow the private sector to participate. You get a point. So that's why you see a lot of Starlink is a constellation of a lot of satellites all over the world, just like other competitors, providing internet service to even advanced countries, US, Canada, Australia. You get a point. So we have to allow the private sector, just like Galaxy Aerospace. I know Victor is doing a great job. We're going to give him the support that he needs. There are a lot of initiatives we are working behind the scenes that we're going to get them involved to ensure that we go out together, reach the unconnected, ensure that we get a lot of people on board to participate in the Ghana economy, ensure we get a future that we want. Give a fair shot to everybody. So they have to allow the private sector guy to just like the telcos. You get a point. We have to allow the private sector guy to open the investment, because it's very costly and risky to deploy satellite broadband in space. You get a point. And you have to work out how you're going to return your investment. Just like telcos, I made a mention that telcos in Africa require, in the next 5 years, 7 years, they require about $75 billion to roll out 5G and 4G network across Africa. These are huge investments. But now telcos in Ghana are trying to make returns on their 4G investments. And now, so without some of this investment coming from the US government, I was wondering myself how these telcos are going to improve or shift towards a cloud native network architecture. So it's very capital intensive, and we have to allow the private guys to that's why the investment that came into Ghana from the US government, it's not a public fund, it's a private capital investment. And a South African company is going to execute a project, Africa data centers. So you get a point. Something that you can't see government. You get a point. You have to allow, it's a competition. You get a point. Just that the NCA has gotten, So just like the work that Galaxy Aerospace is doing, you have to support them. And the NCA has gotten a role to play in regulating both space activities and the telcos as well, because they have merged. That's the future. They all require huge sums of investment in their fields. You get a point. So we have to encourage them to ensure that they're able to also meet the needs and then reach the unconnected, and they get a return on investment, the business aspect as well, because you can't just be pumping in money and not get a return. The only way the government can come in is when even, let's say, Starlink in the future, Starlink deploy fully in Ghana, and the government can subsidize for, just like electricity, in the places where they cannot afford. The government has to come in, because it's been done in advanced countries. You get a point. In a place where they cannot afford, the government has to go in and do it, just like electricity. This is the strategy. That's where government can come in. But I don't say government should pump in investment into a space whereby the private sector should be the one driving the economy.
Yeah, no, so thanks for the for answering, and thanks for the very knowledgeable commentary on this. Just one, the reason why I'm saying the government or Africans, by the way, what I meant government private partnership, because the private sector will not do anything if there's no profit in it. And with that notion, this is the reason why we see private sector come in, extract our gold and take it away to refine it somewhere else and create and make a huge benefit of it. This is why the cocoa is the way it is. This is why all our natural resources are the way it is. Now, with something as strategic importance as our internet, connectivity for the future, it is absolutely critical that the government has a hand in it. And the government has a hand in creating that infrastructure as well, through private partnership or whatever it has to do. But what my issue is with Starlink, for instance, that's an example, is Starlink, for instance, can, like someone, a maverick like Elon Musk, can say, right, I'm going to switch off your internet on a whim, just for maybe disagreeing with the government policy. And then the whole country will be left literally in peril. So I guess the reason why for my emphasis is always on government involvement with these things and not just to the private sector is that because of the fact that it only serves on only interested groups only, right? The US is not doing this, exploring this data centers for free. There is a catch, right? And the better, the sooner we are mindful on what the catch is on all these issues, the better. See, this is why I was talking about hotspotting and stuff as well. But thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Let's start with kindly help us here.
Come again.
Yes, please. The floor is yours. You can go ahead. With the submission. If you have anything to say.
Just to wrap up. You mean I should wrap up?
No, please. I said with his submission, if you have anything to say regarding his submission.
I think he made a nice submission. That's why I'm saying that the NCA is the arm of the government. So I understand where he's coming from, but where the government can get involved in is the regulatory aspect. We get the point. That's why it's a competition. So let's say Elon Musk has started operating in Ghana, and he said, "Oh, if the government doesn't do this, I'm going to switch off." Vodafone has partnered Link. And at the MTN group level, they are also exploring the possibility of partnering with another company called AST Space Mobile. So as I said, in the FCC in the US, they have dedicated a separate bureau to handle satellite activities because they realize the potential. And I expect the NCA in Ghana to also follow suit and ensure that they heavily regulate the satellite operators and the telcos as well, because the two are going to meet, we get a point, to complement each other. So if we relax the regulations, they're going to take advantage of us. So I understand where he's coming from. So that's what I'm saying. The NCA is the arm of the government that is regulating all these activities, space activities and telecommunication activities. And we expect them to protect our interests all the time. So I understand where he's coming from,
Yeah, no, thanks for that. I think you're right in terms of the NCA having a hand in this, in the regulation, and which makes sense. I guess my only concern is number one, they're very slow. They're very archaic in the way they do things. I know you illustrated very nicely certain things because, for instance, 4G, right? Years ago, 4G could have been rolled up.
I personally, I was very disappointed.
4G could be rolled up so much faster.
4G migration,
right.
Personally, I was very disappointed.
Exactly. So my thing. Exactly. So my concern is I would like them, NCA should manage the regulatory aspects of it, right? But in terms of, i.e., the contracting, spearheading and infrastructure improvements and other stuff, I feel like the government needs to perhaps employ someone like yourself to spearhead such a, because the thing is, we need revolution, not evolution. We need a revolution. Right? We need to be fast. Well, let's skip ahead from 4G to 5G. I have no faith in government.
Right? I'm not cutting you. I'm not cutting you. I'm not cutting you. I think you all have a role to play, and I pioneered a 4G solution to address the problem in Ghana, but I'm going to also work on a 5G solution together with the government. So we're going to play our part. We're going to do our best to ensure that Ghana benefit from some of these technologies coming on board.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. With that said, I think I saw another question, but it kind of reply it has been answered. So Lucy Tech was asking, is the NCA responsible for the price increments in the cost of internet? I think
they have a role to play.
Yes.
Yeah, they have a role to play because they are the regulator. They can't sit down for us to be slaughtered. It's just as everybody's complaining about the recent increment from one of the telcos. Of course, we all share the pain. You know, it's not. I feel worried because these are some of the things that will increase Africa's usage gap, where you have service available, but people are not able to afford. You see, data should be treated as a utility. It should be made affordable for everybody to have access, no matter where you are from. That's where the US, I like the approach of the US government, where they subsidize. Get a point. They have lifeline programs. I've learned a lot from the FCC and some of the commissioners, and I am only hoping that we're going to push some of these initiatives in Ghana and Africa. And somebody made mention of the US government pumping investment is not free. I understand. That's why a South African company is the one coming to execute it. That one is another issue. Why not some Ghanaian companies execute some of these projects?
Companies.
You get a point. So, but the issue is a private capital. They decide what to do, and we all have a role to play and see how we're going to play our part. That's why I like the efforts put in by Victor, Galaxy Aerospace, Ghana, and we're going to work with him to ensure some of these things are tackled.
Okay. Emmanuel, please, are all your questions? Have you asked all your questions, or there are more you would like to find out?
I have a lot of questions. So first of all, I applaud you for this meeting. I came across it by chance, and I'm immensely grateful, and I'm very impressed with the knowledge that you guys exhibit here. To be honest, I'm a novice at this, so this is so do bear with me when I'm wrong at certain things. I guess my question for you, my last question is obviously with the data increment prices going up and up in the UK, in Ghana. And I understand that, right? Because the reason is number one, most of your telcos are foreign countries. They need to subsequently, they have a huge, your city is not really stable, and they have to take their money back home. So they have to increase the prices to mitigate those impacts. So, however, the question here is there a way to disrupt the sort of services that they do give? I'll give you an example, for instance. I've mentioned about hotspotting to try and disrupt, for instance, the data and the bundling and the internet services in Ghana. Unfortunately, I tried to set up a business as such, and I was going through so much hoops with NCA, and they didn't understand. They didn't understand, or they didn't just want to help me move it forward, right? So I ended up just shelving that. So I guess as we move technology, so technology now changing from VoIP services, so i.e. through where we use landline to more of internet calling and stuff, right? My question is what about technologies or what other things can we do to perhaps, like I said, individuals who want to come into the space to disrupt the traditional and conventional ways?
Okay. Let me come. So my I think you've just asked a question that's very, very I'm passionate about it. Ghana tried to tackle that aspect about you're talking about foreign companies. That's why they were using the Ghanaian ownership. That's why we got our 4G LTE migration wrong, where the Ghanaian telcos couldn't live up to expectation. They could have allowed them to come in as MVNO to come and ride on some of these infrastructure of these foreign companies. Get a point. They could have allowed them to come in as, instead of just giving them the 4G license to come and fail. They could have allowed them to come in as MVNO, where they will rely on the infrastructure, the infrastructure of the existing telcos to reduce their costs. But if you allow new Ghanaian telcos to come in and the cost, the kind of investment that is required, they will fail. So the disruption technology that will help the Ghana market is MVNO. You get a point. MVNO, where you just need to set up your data center, connect with the telcos, and then use your existing infrastructure to reduce your cost. You get a point. So they were saying Ghanaian ownership before even MTN was given 4G licenses. They were made to offload 30% of their shares for Ghanaian ownership, but that didn't solve the problem we are facing now. You get a point. And already there's a government 30% shares in Vodafone. You get a point. So we have to take a look at the way we approach the Ghanaian ownership aspect. I believe the Ghanaian telcos that came in to fail and where MTN hasn't gone in to buy some of this spectrum, they could have come in as an MVNO to disrupt the market. So I'm also expecting the NCA to work on that to ensure that we get a powerful force of disrupting the market by that, to cut the prices down. We need MVNO entry into Ghana's space sector and as well. So one of the solutions that I would propose is to allow a Ghanaian MVNO to come in to also disrupt, to offer full telco services to ensure that we force some of these telcos to reduce their prices.
Understood.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome, Emmanuel. You're welcome. Yeah. So, Mr. Owusu, with all this said, can we get your last word on this topic, the future of Ghana's internet?
Yeah. The future of Ghana's internet is just as across the world is very bright, but I expect the Ghana government to the NCA to ensure we correct our mistakes regarding the 4G migration, ensure that we regulate both satellite operators and telecom companies, because that's the future, and that's the two worlds are going to. And I was happy to see representative of the NCA people at the ongoing World Communication organized by the ITU in Dubai. I think they are learning a lot, and I'm sure they're going to put it into practice when they come back to Ghana to ensure that the future of the Ghana's internet future, which is going to be a coalition between satellite and the telcos, is well properly regulated, and then ensure innovation and competition to drive down costs, because the backbone is going to be cloud technology, where we're going to have increased capacity at the core network level, and also the 5G is going to open up space for capacity increment. And I'm very excited about the future of Ghana's internet. It's going to be a collaboration between satellite operators to ensure that we have the right investment to upgrade our existing infrastructure, just like the US government is helping us improve upon it. So I'm very hopeful. All hope is not lost. I remember even earlier during the CEO, Ghana CEO summit, but the former president Mahama was promising about 5G investment, but it's very critical. But I'm very happy that the NCA has come out saying Ghana is going to get 5G next year, because we need to, whether it's 24-hour economy or 8-hour economy, we need to get the underlying infrastructure. And broadband is economic competency of every country, whether you are a poor or developing country. The broadband is the economic competency that can really help drive economic prosperity for all countries. So this is my thought. Even though we are not there yet, it's not far. The future is not far. I'm very excited about. We're going to work with Galaxy Aerospace as well and other partners to ensure we So many thanks to yourself and Victor and his team. And I look forward to working with them.
Sure. Thank you so much for making it for today's show. We really appreciate your contribution and for coming here to make it a success. And thanks again to all participants for joining us to this program. We wouldn't have had a meeting or a discussion without you being here. So lastly, thank you once again, Mr. House. Really appreciate it.
Bye-bye.